Hello there, it's Austin, and today we're going to be reusing some spent grains to make pizza. So let's get started. During your brew day, remove some grains from your mash and spread them out evenly on a baking sheet. The thinner you can spread them on your sheet, the quicker they'll dry. Set your oven to about 170 degrees and then load in your grains. Once they're dry, grind them up as finely as possible until you have a nice spent grain flour to use in your recipes. Speaking of, we'll start our pizza dough recipe with 5.35 ounces of that spent grain flour. For the rest of our flour, we're using 16 ounces of 00 or very finely milled flour. After collecting the flour, we'll go ahead and measure out 12.8 ounces of cold filtered water. We actually want this water to be a little warmer to get our yeast started, so we're going to microwave it for a minute or so until it's at about 110 degrees. Then it's time to collect our active dry yeast and pitch it into our small bowl of warm water. At this point, we can add in our 18 grams of salt and then stir a little more to make sure our yeast is ready to go. Then it's time to add our flour to a stand mixing bowl and start the mixing process. You can do this by hand if you don't mind a lot of mixing. Here we're actually adding in a little bit of sourdough starter to replace some of that active dry yeast. Not a necessary step, but it can give the dough some unique sourdough character. Next step is adding in the yeast mixture to the already mixing flour bowl. Go ahead and let the dough mix up for about 5 to 10 minutes in the mixer. If you're mixing by hand, stick to closer to 10 minutes and maybe take a break to stretch out your forearms. Once the dough is firm and stretchy, pull it out of the bowl, add some olive oil, and then drop it back in. We're going to cover it and then let it sit for about 1 to 2 hours in a warm area. At that point, the dough should have about doubled in size, so it's time to cut on the oven. I'll be using an Ooni Fyra pizza oven, modified to run on propane, so we're looking for a temperature of about 800 degrees Fahrenheit on the pizza stone. While the oven's preheating, it's time to cut up the dough. Our recipe yields about 4 250 gram dough balls. To stretch the dough out, place it on a slightly floured surface. Use your fingertips to press the dough into a small flat disc. Working from the center, push the dough outwards and spread your fingers until the disc reaches about 10 to 12 inches in diameter. At this point, it's time to prepare the toppings, starting with a slight brush of olive oil around the edge of the pizza dough. This will help the dough brown evenly and not crisp too much on one side. The rest of the toppings are up to your pizza preference. I'll be adding a base of marinara sauce, then some mozzarella cheese, as well as some feta cheese, before topping it off with jalapenos and pepperoni. Once confirming our pizza stone is at our desired temperature, and playing around a little bit with the infrared thermometer laser, then it's time to put in the pizza. I really like this oven for a lot of reasons, but one of my favorites is getting a chance to watch the pizza cook. In just 1 to 2 minutes, you can watch the dough rise and the toppings crisp up nicely. After pulling it out and rotating it to make sure an even cook on each side, the pizza is ready to eat. Unless, of course, you have to prepare and cook the other 3 pizzas, but once you've repeated the process 3 times, your pizzas are ready to enjoy. So slice them up with whatever novelty pizza cutter you were given for your birthday a couple years ago, and enjoy with a nice home brew. An Italian Pilsner or a nice summer Kolsch will do just fine.